do this thing. Now you're
All right. What's up, everybody? We are live in the podcast studio today talking about podcasting for businesses 101. And so looking forward to it. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways. Anyways, here we are in the studio making some content. Today it's just me. Tyus was not able to come in today. And so it's just me holding it down, which might make the episode a little bit more boring, but it is what it is. And then you don't need to have TikTok pulled up. It's all right. Like, I don't need to see it. Just move it. Just pull that one over to the, like, so I'm more on this side a little bit. Yeah, just like it, like right. The other, sorry, other way. Yeah, the focus is like right there. So cool. Anyways, we're live in the studio, fixing some stuff, getting going, and nobody's even online. So who cares?
some people joined on TikTok.
Yeah. All right. So today we are talking about podcasting. We're going to be talking specifically about podcasting for businesses. If you have any questions while you're watching it, make sure you ask, and we'll do our best to address them as we go. So I wanted to kind of go over 5 key things for podcasting for businesses. The first is building authority and credibility, expanding reach and visibility, fostering meaningful connections, driving traffic and engagement, and then staying ahead of the competition. So the first one is building authority and credibility. And how does podcasting build authority and credibility for your brand, for your personal brand, for the business? If you don't know the answer to that, it's pretty simple, right? The more you get in front of your audience and you talk about your industry, you talk about the expertise that you have in the podcast format, the more your audience learns to trust you, learns to like you, and wants to learn more from you. And it builds your credibility, right? If you look at examples of people who have become, I guess, maybe like influencers, if you will, in the business world on social media, like take Gary Vee, take Alex Hormozi, right? Look at the content that they produce. A lot of the content that they produce is them talking to their audience. It's them giving advice based off of their expertise to their audience, right? And they tailor that content to connect with their audience. They understand who they're trying to connect with. So they create content that's going to resonate with their audience. And that's what you need to be doing as a business. You need to be creating content that's going to resonate with your audience and allows you to show your expertise in a non-douchey way, right? Because nobody wants that. And so leveraging, I guess actually let's do the close-up angle. I'm talking to that camera, I realized the whole time. Okay. And so podcasting is a really good way to build authority and credibility for your business and your brand. You do that by having conversations in and around your field of expertise. And you can do that by doing direct conversations like a live to your audience, or in the traditional podcast format, which is having a guest on and interviewing them and talking about your industry or subjects around your industry. The thing is you know a lot more than you think, right? Your consumer doesn't know nearly as much as you think they do. They don't know nearly as much as you do. And so by creating a podcast for your business to get information, to educate, to entertain, it's going to allow you to spread your voice and provide insights and valuable information to your audience, which then builds authority and it builds credibility about you and your brand. So if you're an individual trying to build your personal brand, creating podcasts where you are interviewing guests and you're talking about things that you know, that's one of the best ways to build that authority and credibility, right? And so Just looking at my notes. So by consistently producing content that provides education and information in and around your industry, you're able to position yourself as a leading expert in that field, right? And going back to what we were talking about, if you look at Alex Hormozy, for example, right? A few years ago, nobody knew who he was, right? Maybe some people here and there, but he's really blown up over the past little bit. But he's also creating so much content that he's getting that visibility. I think it's something like he says about 300 posts a week or something like that. They're doing it's some crazy number. And one of the easiest ways to create all that type of content is by having a podcast, because you can have normal conversations with either people within your company, vendors, business partners, clients, and have real conversations in and around your industry, and then be able to pull select moments from that whole thing and create a lot of short form content that gives you more visibility. And as we know, social media is so overtaken with people producing content, everything from what they're eating to their dogs to their kids to business, right? I don't even know the number, but the amount of videos and photos that are uploaded per minute in the day is crazy. And so, how do you break through that barrier? How do you break through that sea of noise on social media in a way that isn't so time consuming? Because if you're a business, you still need to grow your business, right? You can't spend all your day creating content. You're not a content creator, although every business in some way or form needs to become a content creating machine. But as a business owner, or maybe you're marketing the company and you're looking for a way of like, how do we get more visibility? How do we get more trust with our audience online? Because that's one of the biggest deciding factors for if somebody's going to go with you over somebody else is, do they trust you? Right? Think about mechanics, for example, right? I feel like a lot of people have a stigma about mechanics that, you take your car in there and everything was fine, but then you walk out and now all of a sudden something's leaking, right? If you have an experience like that and you already have this preconceived notion of not trusting mechanics, you're going to not trust that mechanic and you're not going to go back, or you might not even go there in the first place if it seems shady. And so building trust online is incredibly important in order to generate sales, to build relationships with your customers, and to grow your business. And you can do that by opening your mouth, right? And talking about what you know, talking about the things that makes your company different, talking about your industry, providing insights into what's going on in the industry, and providing information that's helpful, kind of like what we are currently doing with our live podcast, right? And if you guys have any questions about podcasting for your business or for building your personal brand, make sure you ask, and we'll do our best to get to the comments as well. And so, because we are live, so I'm gonna mess up. This isn't pre-recorded. And I definitely like when people ask questions so we can kind of, roll off of that and talk about what you guys really want to talk about. So starting a podcast, the thing is too, like, I think often when we see people start a podcast here in the studio, they feel like they have to be the one that's always talking, right? But when it's your podcast, there's an immediate amount of respect and trust and authority, even if you hardly speak during the podcast. Like if you're interviewing someone, maybe that's a business referral partner, it's a vendor, it's a client, and they do a majority of the talking, people are still going to like and trust you because it's your show. So you don't have to feel like you have to be the one that's always talking. And we've been learning that along our journey of podcasting because we're new to podcasting. We started podcasting once we opened up the studio, realizing how important it is. And we started podcasting for two reasons. One, to understand what our customers go through, kind of the process of this whole thing, figure out the complications and where we can resolve some of that for our clients. But then two, the way that you're able to leverage podcasting to grow your business is pretty insane, especially for the cost and the time and effort that goes into it. It is really one of the most easy. I don't want to say easy because there is still a lot of work, but it is an easier thing to leverage and to do than creating other types of content because you're just having conversations. In fact, I think the way that I'm doing this currently is a lot harder than if I had somebody in the chair and we were just having a conversation. And so podcasting becomes one of those easy things for you to do because we all know that, whether you're a marketer, whether you're a business owner, whether you're aspiring to build a brand, you have a lot of things on your plate, and creating content shouldn't be one of those things that becomes too time consuming and difficult to deal with. So let's talk about point number 2, expanding reach and visibility. Okay. How does podcasting help you expand your reach and visibility online? I've kind of already mentioned it, but look at some people on social media. Look at the people that you follow, the people that you look up to, or the podcasts that you listen. How often are they posting? Alex Hormozy, once again, posts a lot, like a lot. It's not once a day. I think that they say that they post about 300 pieces of content a week or something like that. Once again, I don't know the exact number. I heard it on one of his episodes not too long ago, and I was like, man, that's an insane amount. But what does that do? It seems like overnight you just heard about this guy and now he's everywhere, right? And he's everywhere because he's producing a lot of content. And one of his number one ways of producing content is by podcasting. Podcasting helps you get that visibility because you have that long form version, which people can listen to when they're driving to work. People can listen to or watch on YouTube when they have time. And then you also create a ton of short form. And the more content you can produce that's quality content and connects with your audience, the better. So podcasting also helps you. Okay, we'll redo that so we can clip this later. But podcasting can also help you expand your network because you are connecting with other people. And when you post, you can collaborate with them and leverage their network as well. Although that shouldn't be the reason why you're inviting them on the show. It should be because you're genuinely interested in learning from them, or it's something that your audience really needs to hear and understand and gain insight from, right? Don't do it. Don't invite people with followings just to get people with followings on. Focus on building your community, being authentic, and building your brand. And if you do that, you're going to grow because it's not about numbers, right? I mean, it is about numbers, but it's not about numbers. Numbers are important, but you need quality numbers. There's no point of having 10,000 followers if they're all in Dubai and they're never going to use your services, right? It's about building genuine connections with people online, about building that trust and that credibility through your podcast and gaining visibility so that way you can connect with more people, and through your business and through your brand, through your products and your services, you're able to help more people achieve their goals. Which leads into point number 3. Podcasting can help you foster meaningful connections. And what do we mean by that? There's 2 different ways to foster meaningful connections. What's up, Amber? How's it going? Dang, you're out in Mexico right now. That's nice. Are you at like the beach in Mexico, or are you in like Mexico City? Which would be cool too. I'm not hating on Mexico City, but are you at like a resort taking a vacation? Because I know you're talking about taking a vacation. But how does podcasting help you foster meaningful connections, right? It does it in two separate ways. The first being with real people, right? Inviting guests on your show or inviting your team members in. It allows you to build unity. It allows you to build connections. It allows you to be able to have in-person meetings with these people that maybe you couldn't connect with otherwise. So creating a podcast allows you to build relationships with people and strengthen relationships. Oh, nice. Amber's in Cabo. That sounds so nice. I need a vacation so bad. Should have taken us with there. Should have taken us with you, Amber. That's nice. I know you needed a vacation. I need one too. Hopefully I can take one soon. Probably not though. Andrew makes me work hard. He doesn't let me take a breath.
Making a whip sound if I don't hear it.
I thought you were going to cut to yourself for that. Oh, it's out of focus.
The problem is this camera's right.
Yeah. All right. So I guess back to what we were talking about. So let's talk about how do you foster meaningful connections through podcasting? The answer is pretty simple. You reach out to people that you want to connect with, that you want to build a relationship with, that you want to meet, and you have real conversations with them. That's the cool thing about podcasting to me is it's an opportunity to have a one-on-one meeting with somebody that you want to learn from. Not only does it help you foster relationships in real life, but it allows you to create content that's going to connect with your audience when you do it properly. It's going to allow you to be able to have these conversations with people online, and they get to listen, they get to know you, they get to see who you are, they get to see your mannerisms, and they get to feel like they're actually meeting you. And it's so powerful, right? Because we already talked about that. People buy from who they like, know, and trust, right? That's known for centuries. And so how do you get people to know you? How do you get people to like you? How do you get people to trust you? Podcasting is a platform that allows you to have that type of stuff. We'll need videographers for our retreat. I'm manifesting in the future. Let's go. That'd be fun. I'll go film a retreat as long as I get to relax too. So not only can you build, all right, hon, I have a girl coming onto the podcast with me that's flying in from Cali. Oh, that's awesome. See, Amber's been building connections with her people. Amber's been killing it with her podcast. Her podcasts are actually really fun and interesting. Even if you're not in the industry, they do a really good job with the girls that they have in here to tell stories, and it's just really fun. But then she's also been inviting guests via Zoom or StreamYard to come on the show, and she's been connecting with people across the world in her industry, and now she has somebody flying one in. And like she just said, she's never met, and we're excited to chat and finally meet. And without the podcast, would you have met this person? Maybe not, but they're willing to come out and meet you. Maybe they would anyways. And if so, just say no so I can feel good about myself. Just kidding. But that's the cool thing, right? Is like podcasting allows you to connect with real people. It allows you to meet people that you would have never met. It allows you to create and foster relationships with real people, as well as creating content for the people online, which obviously people online are real people. I was thinking about that when I was saying real people. So yeah, Amber said no, that they would have met. They've only met on social. And so leveraging the podcast to build those connections is awesome. And that's what we love seeing, right? We love seeing just social friends currently. I don't even have social friends except for Amber. Amber is my only social friend.
What are friends?
Yeah, I know. What are friends? I don't have friends. That's why I need a podcast called Be My Friend, and I'll interview people about becoming my friend. I don't have time for friends though. Too busy, hockey and work. But that's thanks for sharing all that, Amber, because that's the cool thing about like the podcasting, right? Like, and we love seeing it. We've seen other people be able to get in front of people like Deanna, for example, when we talk about her kind of a lot because she's been killing it with what she's doing because she listens to like everything we say and she's doing things in a really smart way. And she was able to get like a Senate seat member from Vegas, this attorney in town, to come on the podcast and talk. And now they're talking about helping her pass this probate law. And she would have probably never met this person. She probably would have never been able to have a meeting with him, right? There's so much red tape and all this and that. But because of the podcast, she's able to connect with the people. Sup, Alfredo? How's it going? You know, Alfredo is a prime example too. He leverages the podcast a lot to connect with people in and around his industry for a NAREP as well, and brings people into the studio and connects with them and creates content with them. Currently at the airport. Nice. That's the only bad part is just flying. Although flying's not that bad, I guess. I just feel like I do it too much. I'm tired. All right. I kind of like doing these lives with Tyus now. I think it's like, I mean, I don't mind doing them alone, obviously, but I think it's easier when I have someone to speak to as well and have the conversation. I feel like doing this now is becoming weirder for me because I've been doing it with the two people. But yeah,
Can't put whatever focus on.
I know. I'm gonna set up. I'm working on some stuff in here, but we're gonna set up some lights above you soon, and then get another camera there. Yeah, it's probably gonna be too dark and stuff still. Yeah, you fellas and folks, come on by.
There we go. Now
fellow and folks, eu quero invitar você para vir para o podcast studio e oh my gosh, I don't know Portuguese for that type of language. Eu quero interview. Eu quero interview you sobre seu podcast, podcast. I don't know how to talk about podcasting in Portuguese, obviously. But I'm gonna message you soon because I'd love to actually interview you for the podcasting blueprint, and I'd love to speak Tagalog. Bading ka, also ka. That's all I know. I was actually live with somebody on TikTok the other day, and they were from the Philippines, and that's what I said to them. I said, like, oh, I can speak Tagalog. Bading ka. That's all I said. Sup, Kirsten. We need to be Kirsten in for the live. Kirsten, let's do a live. You want to come to the live next Tuesday at 9 a.m.? Also, screw your family and come with us to Pittsburgh. It just got confirmed. So come with us to Pittsburgh, Kirsten. Please. We need you. You don't need family. Family will be around, but our friendship won't last if you don't come. So, and my business will fail. So please come. All right. Anyways, who's going? Well, as of right now, it's probably me and Greg. You can come. Tell your family to come a different day, dude.
I told my sister to get married a different day.
Yeah, like Andrew told his sister to get married a different day so he could be in the podcast studio. That's commitment, Kirsten. That's the type of commitment we need. Do you want to go make money or do you want to, go on the trip? So the dream team. What's up, Framework? Is it Dominic or is it Mitchell that's on the social media right now? Anyways, we're just talking about how you can leverage podcasting for businesses. And I know that like Framework, SoftWriters they are doing some podcasting stuff, but what would be interesting, like for you guys, is kind of like with the case studies, but interviewing other pharmacists about the industry, right? So here's, I guess, a tip that when businesses first come into the studio, I think one of the preconceived notions that they have that they get wrong is they really want to create a podcast to do sales. And podcasting is not about sales. It'll help generate sales. And we've seen that. I mean, we've been live with less than 10 people watching and we got to sell for somebody on the live during the live. And so it'll generate sales, but you need to be providing value and education. And so what we encourage our clients to do in the podcast studio when they're a business and they want to create content here is create a podcast around your industry. Don't create it just about your services, because that's going to get really boring really quick and nobody really cares, right? But what do they care about? They care about the things going on in the industry. They care about learning tips and tricks that's going to help them become successful, right? For example, with SoftWriters, they're a pharmaceutical software company. We've been doing videos for them for a long time. You know, creating a podcast where you're interviewing pharmacists about what's going on in the industry is going to be a lot more interesting than just talking about software, right? People are going to connect better with learning from other pharmacists, kind of like how we do the customer case study videos. We don't go and just do videos about the software. We talk about that pharmacy, their struggles, how they're leveraging the software to overcome those struggles, right? And you talk about things in and around your industry, not about your service. Now, obviously, when you have those conversations, your services are going to come up naturally here and there, and it's okay to plug them. It's okay to talk about them. But what we've seen a lot of businesses do wrong is they start a podcast simply to do sales, and all they do is show up and they're like, hey, we have this widget and we sell this widget, and look at this widget, and this is my widget, and hey, you want to see my widget? You know, it's like, okay, cool. Like, maybe people are going to tune in for a little bit, but if you're not providing any real value, people tune out really quickly. And so if you're starting a podcast for your business, make sure you're focused on creating real education and entertainment in and around your industry. So don't talk just about the services you provide. Don't use it as a sales method or a sales message to your audience. Use it as a conversation that invites your customers into a story that's going to connect with them and that they want to learn. They want to see more, you know. And once again, you don't have to be even talking that much in your podcast to gain that trust and that confidence and that credibility and authority. Your viewers will trust you automatically as the host. So even if you're bringing in other companies that are talking about other things besides your software, maybe they're talking about, you know, in the pharmacy world, maybe it's one of those pill manufacturer companies or the pill dispensary companies, and you bring them in and we talk about the industry, we talk about what problems they're solving, that information is going to be a lot more useful than just talking about your software. Now, occasionally, obviously, talk about your software and how that's changing, use case studies, but don't go into creating a podcast for your business if you're just leveraging it for sales. The sales will come when you build relationships with people, right? This is marketing. Your podcast is a marketing platform, and marketing is building relationships with people, right? It's connecting with them. It's helping them feel seen and heard. And it's more than just creating content to create content or creating content to get sales. You really need to understand, what are they going through? What do they need to learn? What's interesting to them? And let's talk about that. Driving traffic and engagement. We kind of talked about this. I think it kind of aligns with everything we've already talked about, and I'm kind of going all over the place, but you know, podcasting is a very powerful tool to drive engagement. As I burp. So podcasting serves as a very powerful tool to drive engagement and traffic to your website, to your social media platforms, right? It really is a useful tool when you leverage it properly. And how do you leverage it properly? Well, everything we've already talked about. And if you're just joining, go back and rewatch from the beginning, because it's all the same stuff we talk about all the time. And we have no views. Man, this is a lot harder alone. I thought it wasn't that bad alone. I used to do it alone, and now I'm like falling apart over here, Andrew. Also doesn't help when there's like nothing happening over there. But
Well, if I may say something completely off topic.
yeah, let's go.
like your hat.
Thank you.
I agree.
Make videos. Although I shouldn't really wear this for the podcast studio since we do so many vertical videos.
Streaming to TikTok where it's vertical.
I know.
I mean, we're still filming it horizontal, but
Yeah, we do a lot of vertical videos on the podcast studio, so it doesn't really make sense when I wear this hat here. But it's the only hat I had today. So make videos horizontal unless you're a podcast client that make lots of vertical videos because we cut reels. Ask us about reels. We do reels. Okay. Let me see. Brand awareness is basically the same thing we've already talked about. Strengthening community engagement. All right. I don't know, Andrew. What should we talk about, bro? Nobody's even paying attention. It's all right, though. I forgot to post about this the other day. I guess let's talk about that. In order, let me look at the camera really quick. I'm just pulling this up so I can see the. There it is. So, in order to grow your podcast as a business, the number one key thing is consistency. You need to be consistent with when you're releasing content. You need to be consistent with creating promotional content for the episodes. It's all about consistency. Once again, we are bombarded with so many messages every single day, right? Every brand, every business, and all the normies out there are posting on social media. And so you're bombarded with messages. You have so many things going on. It's easy to forget and hard to remember about a podcast or somebody's content that they're creating, right? So it's your job as the business to make yourself relevant. It's your job as the business to make yourself stand out, to make yourself visible, because your audience isn't going to naturally do that in the beginning. Now, as you grow and you stay consistent for a long time, they learn what to expect from you. It's just like in real life, having a relationship with somebody. You want somebody who's consistent. You don't want a ton of crazy variables all the time because you can never really learn to trust them. You don't know what to expect. And so consistency is so important with growing your personal brand. And look, we're not great at it at the podcast studio. You'll see we'll post one time and then like 100 times a different day. And then I forget about our episodes and I forget about creating content for us because we're busy building the business and helping our clients. But you have to be consistent. If you want to grow on social media, if you want to connect with more people, if you want to make a difference and stand out on social media, it's up to you. And you do that by creating quality content that's designed to engage and connect with your audience, let them feel heard and seen, and by showing up, by posting a ton, by being consistent. And there's two kind of rules of thought there is either post a lot, like 100 times a day to get seen, or post really good quality content. But I think most people starting out don't know how to create that really good quality content. So you might want to post more. But that's, once again, that's the cool thing about podcasting, right? The podcasting format allows you to create really good content without having to think. Like the way I'm doing it right now is definitely a lot harder than if I had somebody in this room and we were just having a natural conversation that we would have. Right. We get that all the time, you know, with 17 years of helping businesses create videos. I've interviewed a lot of people. And every time we interview, you know, we have these conversations, we have this back and forth, and it's just so natural. And we're good at pulling out that conversation to create the video that we need. Now we're just doing that in a podcast format, right? Which is just two people having a conversation, or three or four, and in an intimate setting that allows the audience to be kind of a fly on the wall and see what these people are talking about, and becomes way easier and more natural, especially if you don't love getting in front of the camera. I don't love getting in front of the camera. There's nothing about getting in front of the camera that I wake up and go like, yay, I can't wait, right? I don't enjoy doing this, but I do it because one, it's necessary. Two, we have the tools, so it becomes even easier for us. But three, because this is how we build our brand. This is how we connect with people online. This is how we build an audience that trusts us, right? We are seeking to build a community of people and helping them amplify their voice. And we can't do that if we don't share our own voice so people know what we are about. And podcasting is one of the easiest ways to do that. So, I don't know. Does anybody have any questions or anything? I know there's not many people watching. I mean, right now, like on Instagram, it's like nothing. TikTok's limited as well right now. Oops, I just left it. Let's try to pull up. Somebody liked our video 300 times on TikTok. That's kind of crazy.
You can like it multiple times on TikTok.
Yeah, you can sit there and just tap the screen like crazy. I've live streamed on TikTok. I don't know much about TikTok. We're testing out TikTok, and we're live on TikTok as well as Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we're just kind of testing how each platform kind of performs and paying attention to certain things. But yeah, you can just like tap like endlessly. We had somebody tap on Harrison's live stream once for hockey like 3,000 times.
Wow.
And then more likes, the more it pops up in like other page in your like your For You page or whatever. But anyways, I don't know. Normally we have people in here watching and we can get questions and stuff, but it's kind of slow today. So if you're on TikTok watching this, let us know if you have any questions about, building, how to get started in podcasting, how do you build your personal brand, anything like that. Like, feel free to ask. Happy to chat about it while we're here. And if you are watching anywhere else, like on LinkedIn or Facebook, make sure you ask any questions while we're live still. And I'll say this, I guess, about creating content is sometimes it feels like nobody's watching. Sometimes it feels like you put all this work creating content and nobody's viewing it because nobody's liking, nobody comments on it. You feel like you're not getting shares. You feel like you're not getting seen. I promise you there's people watching. There's people that you're connecting with that you don't even know. We see it here in the studio all the time. Like, we don't get a ton of engagement, but then we see these people in real life and they go, hey, I loved that podcast episode where you talked about this. Now we're implementing it. We even have clients of ours that are doing the same thing, that they go, man, I was watching the episode and when you talked about this, it kind of opened my eyes. And now we're leveraging our podcast this way. And so people are watching and they're silent. I know that we all want numbers. We want a ton of views, a ton of likes, a ton of comments, because we feel like that shows the true impact and value that we're providing. But realistically, the people you're actually helping, the people that actually need to hear your message, are never going to comment. They're just going to watch. They're going to silently watch you, and they're going to see, is this person consistent? Can I trust them? Especially if they're looking at doing business with you, then that becomes a big factor of how consistent and trustworthy is this person? Do I like what they're talking about? So if you feel bummed because you put that effort in creating content, you pulled that reel from your podcast and it only got like 50 views on social media and 2 likes and half a comment, it's okay. You're not alone. That's where everyone starts. And as you post more consistently, you'll get more engagement. You'll get more people buying in, especially if you learn how to talk to your audience. But it's not about numbers. It's about building quality, genuine connections with people. And so for me, I love when we have a few people on the live and we're talking. I was going live the other day and there's only like 3 or 4 people in there, but we were having conversations. We were talking about business questions that they had about building a business, about marketing, and having those interactions is making a difference. And I don't care if it's 3 million people or 3. Like, I get to help people and I get to get my voice heard, and that's worth it. So don't worry about the numbers. Don't worry about, blowing up overnight. It's not overnight. In fact, I was listening to an Alex Hormozy interview recently, and he talked about that. He started podcasting in 2016, was it? I think he said 2016 is when he started podcasting. And he really just started blowing up like in the past year or so, maybe a little bit earlier, right? So think about that. He's put in years of work and making small adjustments, putting out more content, doing more podcasts, building a better brand, making some changes, focusing on creating hooks for his short form content, asking for shares, asking for help, and then he blew up, right? You have to put in the work. If you want to become successful, if you want to become known online through your podcast, then you need to put in the work. And I think for most businesses, it's not about blowing up. If you can get 100 potential customers in your area that are most likely going to use you to be watching your content and seeing it, those are really good numbers. If you're building genuine connections with those 100 people versus getting millions of views of people who are never going to use you. So it's not about numbers. It's about building genuine connections with your audience and making a difference in their lives, right? Providing them with education, entertainment, value, and making a difference. So on that note, unless anybody has any questions, I guess maybe we'll wrap this up because I just barely saw Amber's comment too about so many people say yes to being on a podcast. That's definitely something we always talk about, right? We talk about fostering relationships through podcasting, and our clients see it all the time. They reach out to people that they thought they couldn't even speak to, and they say, "Hey, I love what you're doing, and I have a podcast about the industry. I'd love to interview you more about you." And people say yes. People with giant followings that you would never get a response from, that you'd be sitting in their DMs for days, right? Left on red. They will respond. The conversion rate of getting people to respond to your message when you invite them to your podcast is crazy. Why isn't your video horizontal? Because you're on TikTok. We can make it horizontal. Here, click on it.
Yeah.
And pull it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Or do up there it says stretch to that one. Yeah. There we go. Now we're horizontal on TikTok. There we go. Let's go. Just ends. I like it. We were actually talking about that earlier too. We were talking about how I'm wearing this hat, but I'm doing some content for our podcast studio, and we create a lot of vertical videos for our clients. I should really only wear this when we create content for our production company, because that's where we don't really do vertical video.
Well, it's just unfortunate that TikTok kind of forces that to be the norm on there. I can't really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do it like this. And what I've considered doing, even for like the Instagram and stuff like that, is actually filling that in with like logos and like making it look pretty. And then we can still do horizontal and have it look nice. But now the lamp's in a weird spot because I had it set for the vertical for the clips and stuff. That is one of the hard things about videos. And if you're looking at starting your own podcast, or you're looking at creating content for your business, it's been interesting to try to figure out, how do we make this look good horizontally the way it should be, right? Make videos horizontal again. But also, how do we make it look good for the clips, for the reels, for the stories that are going to be vertical? That's the question. Oh, that's the lamp. I thought it was some artwork behind you. No, it's a lamp. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lamp.
I'll put this back.
Oh, you want to zoom it in?
Yeah.
You should just be able to zoom it, like just like take the corner and just pull it. Yeah, until you get to the full. Yeah, and then just reset me in the middle. Ah, I'm moving, but only on TikTok. Everywhere else is exactly the same. So it's funny watching it on TikTok. Um, yeah.
Back.
Now we're back to vertical on TikTok with my hat, but everywhere else we are streaming horizontally.
I mean, technically, we're still streaming horizontally to TikTok. It's just
Yeah, we are streaming horizontally, and we're filming this all horizontally, but we will cut it up vertically. Unfortunately, that is the trend, and especially with this type of content. But I will say, I don't mind this type of content being cut up vertically. I think that it makes sense. I think it's a good fit. My hat is more in reference to the cinematic corporate videos that we make or movies. I hate when you have to go vertical on those because you just lose so much of the image, especially when we shoot it for horizontal, because it's going to be living on the website, it's going to be on TV, it's going to be in these other places. And then when they go to put it on social, they want it for like a story or a reel. It's just you lose so much of the beautiful image that was created. But it is what it is. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have anything else. Anyone have any questions? You guys got any questions on TikTok about anything video related? Happy to answer anything before we take off. What's up, Stacey Lee? What's up, Justin's? Thanks for your comment and calling us out. Appreciate it. The one thing about lives that I like, once again, I am realizing how much better it is to have a co-host for the live shows. It does make it easier to keep the conversation going, especially when there's not a lot of interaction. And normally we have more interaction on our Instagram and pages, but for some reason, I think it's because I didn't really post about it until like last minute because I'm inconsistent. We're consistently inconsistent, but we are consistently going live 9 a.m. every single Tuesday, 9 a.m. ish for about an hour. And we are doing that every single week, talking about podcasting, giving advice, and answering questions. We can talk about gear. We can talk about lighting. We can talk about really anything that you guys want to talk about with the podcast. But it definitely is nice to have Tyus. I'm realizing more and more. Tyus, come back. Why'd you have to go work today? Why couldn't you just podcast with us? But and I guess going back to that is the one thing I will say, like, that's why podcasting is really nice, right? Like, I don't necessarily consider this a podcast. Like, I'm live streaming and having conversations, with people online and trying to create content that we're going to cut up later, right? When Tyus is here with us, it's a conversation and it's so much easier to flow because you have that back and forth. Doing these is a little bit awkward alone because you're alone and there's no second person talking to you. I do think that in the future, if Tyus isn't going to be here, we should put a mic for Andrew and then light it up better for the back. That way we can, keep that flow going. But all right.
It's okay. I don't have much interesting to say.
Yeah.
It'll all be stuff you already said.
But I guess that's it for today. Unless there's anything over on Instagram. You want to pull up Instagram really quick? Yeah. All right. Well, nobody's really on, but we appreciate it anyways. And that's what it's about. Just showing up, being consistent. Some days there's more interactions. Some days there's less interactions, but it's just about being consistent. It's about building those connections. We had Amber pop in for a second. We got to talk with her. And that's what it's about. We're building a community. We're getting more comfortable with each other. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable when you do live streams. Live streams are really weird at first, but you get used to it. It gets better. I promise you. And thanks for tuning in. This has been the Podcasting Blueprint with me, Trevin Angulo, and we need to create intros and outros so I don't have to talk and be awkward when we exit.
We have it on StreamYard.
Yeah, but I don't have like an actual one for it. I need like a intro for the Podcasting Blueprint. Anyway.